Hello, Sonal. Welcome to the podcast. I would like to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'd like to start by asking you what I ask everyone when we kick off is, are you well, actually?
I can actually say yes. And I say that because I feel that after sort of the way that my journey has unfolded over the years, I've actually come to the point where I'm balancing work, play, spirituality, family, and the connections that I have with others in a way where I feel pretty content. I'm at the point where I'm actually just saying yes to life.
I love that.
And that doesn't mean saying yes to everything. That's saying yes to the things that make me feel good, that make me want to engage and connect and be present. But that could mean a night out with my loved ones. It could be with my family and the children in my family and doing donut making or going to the library and picking up books. It also means, like this evening, I'm planning a salt essential oil bath with Netflix this evening and my favourite food ever, chips. And I feel that makes me happy. And so it's saying yes to all of the things, not at the exclusion of anything else.
I love that. That is so great. And have you always been that good at setting boundaries and saying yes to the things that make you feel good?
Hell no. I mean, no. I mean, this is years of experience that have kind of got me here, where trial, error, and there's been so much imbalance in my life over the years, especially with the kind of career that I've got. I'm a lawyer, so it's been a very stressful kind of trajectory for me over the last 22 odd years. So it's kind of been, I've got here through making all the mistakes that I've had, having all the teaching wisdom that I've had before me, to be able to really understand what I want, what my needs are, how can I live my best life, take all the best things. How can I learn from all the things that didn't work out, but with love, and then integrate a way that I can just carry on living on a day-to-day basis that fulfills my needs, not outsourcing them to somebody else or something else. How can I give myself what I need?
I love that. And how do you balance, because you're a lawyer and a very successful one, and you teach yoga, you play your incredible sound bowls. What kind of portions of time do you give to each of those things, would you say? If you had to put it in like maybe a percentage or, a pie chart, I don't know.
It's interesting you asked me that, because I think this is what a lot of people do ask me. Mm-hmm. The question I get all the time, how do you do it all? Why shouldn't and can't I do it all?
Great.
Why should I give up one to do the other? And this is where I integrate and transform all the different parts that make me. So to go back to your answer, there is no fixed percentage. It's like a graph, and it's the wave of the graph. So there's your flat line. Sometimes I will peak at one of those things, and sometimes I'll trough at one of those things. What I aim to do is just to do a more of a kind of stable wave along my flat line.
Brilliant.
So that I'm flirting with my equilibrium rather than having such a high. So when I drop to that trough, that's just untenable, because rising back up is really difficult. So just to give you an example, when work is nuts, my energy is there, and that's okay, because it's temporary, and I will be present. And if I have to work that 12-16 hour day, something else has to give. It's just logic and life. But I will do it because I have a sense of duty, I have my dharma, I have my responsibility. I'm in a position of kind of management role and responsibility, so I have to show up And I choose to show up too. And then when that's sort of taking the majority of my time, the other things naturally have to give. But then when that starts to come down, I can then give more space and time to the other things in my life, like yoga, like the sound, like my spiritual practice. I teach a double yoga class every Sunday morning to community. And for me, that's gold dust. Why? It's a guilty pleasure. Because I want to stay in an environment where I can express who I am, what I am, and use the teachings that I've been given from my amazing, wonderful teachers to be able to gift that back to my students. And it's incredible because I teach at the David Lloyd in Finchley, and the same people show up week after week. I have a 16-year-old to a 70-year-old in the same class, and it's just amazing because I'm able to give yoga in a way that they don't have access to in a mainstream London studio. Am I an urban London yoga teacher? Probably not. I teach from my heart. I teach from the wisdom that I've learned from my teachers. I teach from a place of where I am in that moment. So my Sunday morning ritual is 7:30, cup of coffee in bed. What do I feel? And that's where I'll teach from. What have I experienced in the week? Can I maybe find a quote? Let me see what's going on in the cosmos. That's my theme. And then what am I feeling? What do I want to move? How do I want to change that? How do I want to move with the alchemy of what I'm feeling? And that's where I'll teach from. For example, irrespective of what happens, that's set in stone for me, because that gives me what I need, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So that's real abundance, really, isn't it? It's gifting back what you've received. And I love I just want to pick up what you said a bit earlier about knowing that the stressful times at work are temporary. And that's, I guess, because another thing I wanted to ask you is how all these disciplines, these facets of who you are feed into each other. And I guess having that knowledge that things are temporary is which is very yogic, is such a wonderful thing to be able to bring into your high flying lawyer life. Because I think I know a lot of people who work in corporate jobs who get very overwhelmed by the stress that's in front of them and they can't see past it, whereas it sounds like you can, and that is just such a gift, isn't it? Because you know that, as you said, it's your service, you know it's not going to be like that forever. You'll be able to sort of flirt again with the balance. So
yeah, and like I said before, it's been an evolving journey. It's not something that's just click on my finger and I've done it. It's kind of being able to identify. I went through that journey of working 16 hours a day to climb the trajectory ladder. I mean, I got all my promotions very quickly. I mean, I was a partner in a top law firm at 32. And I did it because that was my dharma at the time. It was my ambition at the time. It came at the cost of my marriage at the time. I chose not to have children at the time, but that was a life choice I made. Nobody told me to make that life choice. I got a serious injury. I burst an air pocket and I got a collapsed lung on my left side. So it fell completely. It took me a year almost to recover.
When did that happen?
2006.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so it's not like let's not sugarcoat any of this. I mean, there's some real life things that happen, and you have wake-up calls. And my wake-up call was in 2008, and that's when I entered my yoga journey seriously. And I did about 8 years of only hot yoga at 40 degrees heat. Why? I needed a release outlet for my yang, because I'm very yang and I'm very sort of alpha female in my
Can you
career.
explain yang just for some people that might not know what we mean by that?
So it's where it's more, so kind of it's the yin and the yang. The yin is more you're softer, you're more restful, you're more kind of yin is more, you take more care of yourself, you're more nurturing. Yang is when you're going at a million miles per hour, there is a ton of energy, and I'm actually super energetic. I mean, I don't stop ever. And so I needed an outlet for that stress from work. So I started my yoga practice in 2008 only with a very high impact, high stressful type of practice so that I could release a lot of my tension,
Mm-hmm.
that gave me somewhere that I didn't have the headspace or the physical experience to be anything other than present. Because when you're doing yoga at 90 minutes in 40 degrees heat, you have to be present in that moment.
You do.
You know, you can't sit there and like daydream about this deal or that deal or this email. So I knew that I needed something to outlay that. But everything has a time limit, and it wasn't until I became very injured with the practice. So I'm not knocking hot yoga at 40 degrees heat, just to say, but for me at that time, you know, my right shoulder dropped, winged out, 2 discs came out my neck. I mean, I went through a real traumatic time injury wise, because my body just overheated, hypermobile, hyperextended, and I pushed myself far too much. Wake up call. So I had to dial back, had the surgery and everything, dial back. And that's when I haven't really gone back into a hot room again. And that's when I discovered all the other beautiful types of yoga out there. And it was, this all kind of happened in 2015, 2016.
So you were about 8 years doing hot yoga then?
Yeah,
wow.
Definitely. And then 2016, and that's when I did my first teacher training in 2016.
And who was that with?
That was with Yoga Life Studio in Eastbourne with Venka, Beard and Eva. I met Venka on a retreat in Sri Lanka. Really, it was like a glue that kind of made sense. So I did that over 8 months while still working 12 hours a day. So it was quite nuts.
How did you do that?
Do you know what it is? It's really determination and focus, and it's about prioritizing what's important to you. Anyone can achieve what they want. You've got to just want it. That's how I feel. So it was 1 weekend a month, and then we did an intensive in Egypt. I never did it with the intention to teach. I did it so that I could deepen my own practice. And once I finished it, I did do some teaching. I'm a bit all or nothing. So instead of like going into straight, you know, let's get some experience on and teach, I just taught 65 people in an open yoga class at Om Yoga Show in Alexandra Palace. For example.
I love that.
Like, you know, with zero experience.
Right in there. Brilliant.
So I did that. I did a festival. I did some really cool stuff, but I still didn't have the bug. And then it was in 2019 that I did an intensive training with Bridget Woods Kramer in Bali. So I went there for 5 weeks. And that was interesting because during that time, I was actually head of group at my law firm. And I was in management. And it was really interesting because I asked for a sabbatical for a short period and they said no.
Oh.
And then I knew something, because it was a blessing and a curse to be so senior. And I did that stint for about 3 years, so from 2016 to 2019. So it was really interesting for me because here I am climbing this corporate ladder. Here I am really climbing my yogic and spiritual life. And they're both going up, up, up together.
Interesting.
And it's kind of like, ooh, and I'm keeping up the pace. Because I'm a Scorpio, you know, I'm a real like driving force of intensity. So I'm kind of keeping up the intensity of both these parallel pillars that are rising in my life. And it's then when I realized what is important to me. What do I want? I was able to sit with myself to say, what do you want? I want both. How can I have both? I've got my corporate life, which feeds my brain. I like to be around really clever people. It stimulates me.
Of course.
I want to use that part of my brain that is wheeling, dealing, strategy, thinking outside the box, being clever in the things that I say and being around corporate type of people. I work with a bunch of brilliant humans. So I didn't want to lose that. And it also gives me the abundance to have this amazing other life. Let's not forget that, because that other life is not really, you know, paying. And I have a different relationship with my yoga bowls and my spiritual life because it's a passion. So I'm able to serve from a very different place if I had a money relationship with it.
Absolutely.
So I'm kind of like, so something had to give. So I wanted, the drive for me to do this Bali trip was so deep that I said to work, I'm going to go anyway. We'll talk about what this looks like when I come back. But that took real courage for me to be able to stand up for what it was I wanted and needed, and being a bit fearless with that by really being true to myself and showing up for myself. That's what that lesson, I didn't know at the time. In hindsight, that's what that was. So I went, had this incredible experience, came back, had the teaching bug, straight into a teaching role, started at David Lloyd, really happy there, and that's where I kind of progressed. So then I came back, and for work, I said, right, something needs to shift. And I said, actually, do you know what? I'm actually excellent at what I do, but it's not, I don't want to do the management side. I'm actually a brilliant lawyer. Let's carve something that lets me do what I want in a way that gives me flexibility so that I can go and live another life. So I was very fortunate because we're a big firm. Not many of my partners have a deal. And they said, we don't want to lose you. What can we do? And let's sit down and what can we do to make this work for you and for me? So literally it was, I'm lucky because I work in an organization that recognizes talent, recognizes opportunity, and are not afraid to think outside the box to create an alchemy that works. So I stepped down from management, stepped down from head of group, still a partner, really responsible, really ambassadorial. But I have a flexible working arrangement which enables me to do what I want when I want. Small targets. I have a kicker arrangement so that I am in charge of what I earn almost. And I bought time. And I take off about 3 months a year in total, in whatever capacity that I want. And I am able to use that time to go and live my other life.
Brilliant. I think this will be very inspiring and reassuring because I know I've spoken with, I have some fellow yoga teachers who have, by necessity taken on another job because, times are tough right now. As you said, it's not the most abundant thing in the world. Just because anyway, that's another conversation. But I think the fact that you have, you're naming that you can do both. You can, because it's about what you want. Obviously you want to simplify, you don't want to be doing like a million different things, but it's that I think a lot of people who've either taken on different roles as well as being the teacher, the healer, whatever it might be, and also people who have not yet left there, because I know a lot of people have done the teacher training but they don't want to leave their bill paying job, and actually maybe partly because it's pays the bills, but also because, like you said, it stimulates that part of themselves. And obviously yoga teaching is a wonderful job. I love it. And if you're someone who needs a structure and you need to be stimulated, I think a lot of what we see online with yoga teaching is it's retreats, it's workshops, it's beaches. It's not just that. There can be that, but I think this will be very reassuring for people who are wondering whether they should be doing just one or the other. And you are living, breathing proof that you don't have to do one or the other.
No, I don't see why I should give up one to do the other, because I want to do both. Some people choose to give up one to do the other because that's the only option they think they have, or that's the only or they're really done with their corporate life. But what I did is I'm the kind of person that dives into the eye of their storm naked, and I'll sit there. That's the kind of person I am, though. I'm a fight, go, confrontation rather than flight and run. Yeah, absolutely. So instead of saying, oh, sod that, I'm just gonna whatever, I was like, no, let's have a conversation. This is what I want. Can you accommodate this? Not all organizations will be able to accommodate it. I'm very lucky, and I'm very grateful for my luck and also the opportunity that I've been given. But I also very strongly believe what you get is because of what you've given.
Of course. You work very, very hard.
I've done those 16 hours a day. I've had the injuries. I've had the life changes as a result. I climbed that ladder. I've been a lawyer for 22 years. So it's not like I'm deciding to do this now. I've earned my stripes.
Of course.
I have a reputation, and because of those things, I am able to have the gift of choice, of being able to choose my life path.
And I think that's another important thing to acknowledge, because I think people are in a rush these days, and maybe partly, I think I've said this on a few episodes, a few conversations, because of social media and people showing their successes only, people think, especially new people who are younger in their professional life, they might see that and think, well, I've got to be successful now, and I'm going to get there by any means possible. You know, I'm going to cut corners. When actually, as you said, you've been a lawyer for 22 years, you worked really, really hard. That is what enables the conversations to say, hey, can I actually do both? And you can, but the hard work is part of the self-care. I think that's really important, don't you agree?
It is. The hard work is definitely part of the self-care, because it gives me a purpose. It gives me a drive and motivation. It humbles me. And, you know, because on my corporate life, I'm dealing with a lot of materialism, commercialism. It's very different to the spiritual yogic often way. And it's funny because I like nice things. Why shouldn't I enjoy nice things? Being a yoga teacher doesn't mean I have to go live in a tent and be a gypsy. That just, you know, that doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
If I want to rock up in Stella McCartney, I want to rock up in Stella McCartney. That doesn't make me any less yogic.
Of course.
It's what for me, it's how do I show up for myself? And the way that I show up for myself and care for myself and look after myself is how I show up for you. And that's whether my client, my billionaire client, or my yoga teacher friend, or my student. And, you know, everyone is on the same platform, because at the end of the day, it's, you know, yes, you adapt to the different circumstances and the different personalities, and I have to be a bit of a magician and a chameleon, but we all are these things in life. Absolutely. And it really comes down to, for me, the basic principle is, how do I show up for myself? What do I do to fulfill my needs? Because that massively translates how I interact and connect with others, whether you're my blood family, whether you're my yoga family, or you're my work family, whatever that may be, it just translates into my connections and communications with people.
And just speaking on, I mean, you know, now you've obviously, you work out your time so that you can do all the things. Talk me through what a day in the life of Sonal's self-care is, or what are the non-negotiables, let's say, in your day?
Okay, the non-negotiables is I have for a very long time, we're talking decades, a morning sadhana practice. It's like brushing my teeth.
Can you explain what sadhana is?
Sadhana is it's a way, it's almost like having a dedicated ritual for me that enables me to connect with myself. So for some people that's exercise. So some people may do an exercise thing. Some people it's whatever routine. It's a routine or a ritual. I like to call it a ritual, but you know, simply put, it's a routine. That's what sadhana is just the Sanskrit way, because it's sort of the yogic way in which I have a way of my life, of the way I live my life. So for me, I have a morning ritual routine practice that is my way of connecting with myself. And that is, as soon as I'm up and I'm showered, and the showering in the morning is very much for my own purity, cleanliness, obviously hygiene and all that. But again, but you know, like some people shower at night, for example. But for me, I tend to try to do both.
Yeah.
And then I have an altar practice. So I have a dedicated room in my home that has my physical altar, which has evolved over the years as I've grown to release from dogmatic religion, which has been there in the past, through really trusting my instinct and myself as to what it is that I am actually venerating. Am I venerating something outside of me, or am I venerating a version of me? That's a whole other topic there. But sort of going back to sort of the day of the life of Sonal, I have like the top shelf in my fridge has fruit and milk, which is my exclusion of everything else, because that's what I offer to my morning altar. So I'll heat some milk, I'll offer some fruits and nuts, and it's kind of just a way of an offering to my altar, but I'm actually offering that to a version of myself. My altar has deities, it has crystals, it has all the things that vibe with my vibration. It's where my yoga mat is, it's where all my crystals are, it's where my crystal bowls live. And it's a really beautiful place. It's actually my cave or sanctuary, and it's the one room in my house that I've created that gives me a place to go where I can meet myself exactly where I am in that moment.
Love that.
And so I have this morning ritual. Sometimes that can be 5 minutes. Sometimes that ritual could be an hour. What do? Whatever I choose to do. I'm not going to be bound by a condition of what Sonal must do in that time. It could be a meditation. It could be a japa. So I might get some a mala and recite a mantra all the way around. I might move. I might do some pranams. I might just flow. I might sit there and talk to my altar, because I'm actually then having a full conversation with my own divine self in that moment. I always chime my bowls. I might get 1 or 2 or 3 out and just have a little play. And it really, I'll do goddess cards. What is my message for the day? And so it's just a real way of me to connect, have a moment that is outside, that it takes me inside, because when we're interacting with others, we're always outside. So I'm trying to find a way of going inside out.
Love that. And also you mentioned about the deities. I might be not understanding this correctly, but are a lot of the Hindu deities kind of meant to be a reflection of aspects of humanity, or is
absolutely?
Yeah.
So while I say deities, they're actually an energy. So they're actually a way of connecting with a form of energy rather than religion. So let's just take religion out of this equation, because it doesn't have to do with religion. I have a Buddha head here, for example, and I have different, for me, energy is what that aspect reflects back at me. So for example, Radha Krishna, deities, but they reflect playfulness, they reflect a real love union of the male and female aspect. Shiva Shakti are what I really venerate. So I have all different aspects of Mother Earth on my altar. And I have Durga, she's my archetype. She has her weapons of consciousness up, and that's how I see myself in my daily life. For example, Saraswati, she's the goddess of wisdom and arts and music, and that's where I really channel when I want to play the bowls, for example, or when I want to articulate in a presentation at work, or when I want to I'll channel her when I want to play the bowls in a class, for example. So it's a different way of it's a different way of connecting with the energy aspects of the deities to enable me to basically live my life. So I have this morning practice, and for me that is like brushing my teeth.
Yes.
I do not want to. There's no force, it's a choice. And sometimes that's the first thing in the morning. Like today, I haven't showered yet, and we're probably 11 o'clock, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I will do it later on today. So there's no fixed time. Generally, morning, because it's kind of like that's the my kind of sets my day up. But today I'm working from home, so it's when I choose to have that time, and I will juggle that depending on what my day looks like. Some days. So I'm still lawyering, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm either working from home or I'll go to the office in Holborn. And then it's very much, what else does that day look like? Some days I might have an event. So, for example, I'm hosting an event. I might be doing the bowls somewhere, or I might be teaching my class, or, so it really depends on what's going on. I will carve out the time to ensure I have my other life, and that's why I transformed it to have a flexible working arrangement to enable me So if I, in the middle of the afternoon, if there's something going on and there's a teacher, I don't know, there's a great teacher come around, and then they're doing a training for 2 days, I'll take those 2 days off and do it.
Brilliant.
Or if there's an afternoon, or if I want to go for a massage in the middle of the day, I'll go and do it. I have my Pilates one-to-one on a Monday mid-afternoon. I go and do that because I can, or I will manage my time so that I
you
can.
Do you think all this stuff makes you better at your job?
Massively, because I'm motivated and because I'm fulfilling my life with all the other things. There's no resentment. There's no frustration. The only time where things get out of meltdown or things get out of a bit of control is where I'm having conflicting deadlines, because that can happen. Things can kick off at work. Things can ramp up on my spiritual life, or I'm pulled in a million directions. Who's not? I'm no different to you and everyone else. How do I show up for myself in that moment will determine and dictate how I react and respond. Am I reactive or am I proactive? And my career has given me the skill set to be able to do that. My yoga life has given me the skill set to be able to do that. They're interchangeable. They're not exclusive.
I love that. Do you find your colleagues come to you for advice based on all the wisdom you have around? Yeah.
Especially a lot of the younger lawyers, because they see me as a role model. So it's really quite funny, because I'm known in the office to have this real other life, and they look up as to how I achieve that. And I often have a random coffee date in my diary from people that I don't even know in the firm, that have spoken to somebody who just want a life chat. They don't want technical help. They just want, how do you do it? How can you help me do it? How can you help me? What's your advice of how can I build my career but still have a life? Because that's what I get from a lot of young lawyers. How can I do them both?
Yes.
How can I build? And I'm like, well, when you're young in your career, you've got to graft. Because a lot of millennials, I can't even say the word.
Millennials. It's such an awful word.
I can't say it.
Dirty word.
At the age of 20, they want balance.
Yeah.
But come on.
I really like that you said that, because I think you do. You're right. It's you as you said earlier, you've earned this.
I've earned this. Don't tell me at 20 years old that you want balance in your life. Yes, there's an element of actually.
Yeah.
I get that. You've got to learn to be able to know what you need and what you want. And I think the 20-year-olds really know that than we did it. I didn't know. I had no clue when I was 20.
Yes.
Everyone's starting much younger now with awareness and mental health and all these things, because there's so much digital knowledge about this in a way that there hasn't been in the past. And COVID has been huge in this. But, at the age of 20, there has to be some hunger in your career, and there has to be some grafting. Have that X factor. Where is that X factor? Show me your X factor.
Love that.
And that's what's going to build that. But do all these extracurricular activities, because that is what's going to bring you out. That's what's going to make you look different.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make you stand out.
Yeah. That's great advice. So normally what I'll ask actually is sometimes I'll ask my guests kind of what, if there's like a wellness practice that they think might be a bit suspicious, possibly a bit harmful, but maybe you can speak a bit to, and this is possibly controversial, but there's you see a lot, and it does come from social media about, balance is very important, but it's also a lot about how do I say this correctly? I find that sometimes the rhetoric around rest is almost taken to the extreme of making people almost become a bit inert. Would you agree with that? How can we talk about this without sounding? Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I do. Rest is really important.
Of course.
You can it's like with anything. You can dive into something that it becomes exclusive, but actually it's all about balancing the rest with the expansion of energy, for example. So I'll give you an example with me. If I'm out 2 nights, which is normal, the 3rd night I'm done. I'm crawling. I will give myself date night to rest at home, because that's what my body needs, it's what my mind needs, and it's what I'm a bit guilty because I tend not to rest, so I go the other way, for example. There's also laziness, and people can become quite lazy because there is this whole societal or stereotype that, you know, rest, and balance. And yes, there's a real place for that. But how can you understand and enjoy rest if you don't know what an expansion of energy feels like and looks like? Unless you've pushed yourself and you then realize in your body, actually, now's the time to rest. Rather than being told to rest, is this something that you can work out for yourself through your own experience? Because that's the most valuable lesson that you will learn, not from somebody else telling you or reading it from a book or seeing a post or being told on social media. Can you work this out with your own experience of when it feels natural for you to take that time out to rest?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree.
If I answered your question.
No, that's perfect. And I couldn't agree more. I think, you know, it's of course it's important to talk about balance, but I agree with you. I think everyone has a different capacity as well. Yeah. And that's fine. That's good. I've often been told that I teach a lot, and I teach a hell of a lot less than I used to, and it was too much, but I found that on my own.
Yeah.
And it's also age as well. Like when I was 24, I could teach probably about 24 yoga classes a week, and now I'm 32, I teach about 10, and that's good for me now. I think if someone else is telling me, I remember people would almost have a go at me for teaching too much, or then, you know, so I think, as you said, I think it is that thing of it's important to listen to advice, but also listen to your own body.
The one person that you can trust in your life is yourself. Once you make yourself your best friend, that's the only counsel that you really need. And it's about listening to what your heart, your gut, and your brain say. They're all three are interrelated. There's a brain here, obviously. There's a brain here. There's a brain here. As a roadmap, can we talk to each other?
I love that. And when you something that I feel might connect you to that roadmap in your life, tell me if I'm wrong, is your bowls.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Can you tell me about the bowl journey? The life of bowls?
Yes, completely.
First of all, tell everyone what the bowls are.
Okay.
If you can. I don't know how you describe them.
So the bowls are... So the bowls, what I have is Crystal Alchemy sound bowls. So these are bowls that vibrate when you chime the mallet, and it sends a wave of sound which permeates the skin, permeates through your blood, your vessels, to find your cells and creates vibrational shifts. So these are they're singing bowls, and there are different types. You have the gong, you have the white frosted bowls, you have the metallic Himalayan Tibetan gong metal bowls. So they're all very different types. So the journey started out of my yoga practice, and it was one of my teachers, Shiva Ray, who is one of my beautiful friends, but also one of my teachers. And she, in the height of the first lockdown, she gifted me for one of my birthday, arranged all from LA through to Anne Malone's Sound Oasis in London, and then this bowl, metallic Himalayan bowl, turned up in a taxi in the height of lockdown for my birthday. And she gifted me this beautiful goddess bowl, and it was like, wow. It was it was so touching to receive this bowl from one of my teachers that I literally just offered it straight to my altar, I offered it as a way of connecting, and I picked up the mallet and played for 30 days straight, every single day, between 15 minutes and 30 minutes. I just played. Anne gave me a one-to-one on technique, and so that I could just pick that up. And then something shifted, and I remember really clearly, something really shifted about 3 months later, and I knew that I wanted to play the bowls, but I knew that it wasn't the metal bowls that I wanted to play. I wanted to play the Crystal Alchemy sound bowls. So I'd been to my first sound journey with Carly, who used to do them out of Trioga back in, I think it was my first one was 2015, 2016. So I did my first sound, I had my first experience, and I then used to go regularly every time she used to do them. I even went to her home when she facilitated one in her home. So they kind of were in my life, but always as receiving. I never thought in my life that I'd ever be on the other side of these bowls or become a guardian of the bowls. So I knew I wanted to play the Crystal Alchemy sound bowls, and then the lawyer brain kicked in. That's why my life is so interrelated. I found the school that I wanted to learn from, and that was the Temple of Alchemy based in Greenwich. I booked all three. I mean, I dropped so much money. But I didn't. I'm the kind of person that is very all or nothing. So instead of doing the first level, thinking the foundation level, thinking let me see what that feels like and looks like before I book the others. No. Someone just went and booked all three because that's just the way I am.
All in.
And I knew I trusted myself. It wasn't the next Sonal like faff, or it wasn't about oh God, here we go again. It wasn't about because it's flavour of the month. It wasn't because it was another addiction coming up. It was very much, I felt it in my belly, I felt it in my heart, and I felt it in my brain, and I just did it because I trusted myself and my map. And I booked all three instinctively. It just was vibrationally right. So I booked the courses, I did the foundation, and knew, when I picked up the mallet that very first time, it felt like I came home. It felt so familiar, like I'd done it for lifetimes. It felt like this is something I'd picked up again in this life, and I knew what to do. I knew, and the feeling that I had when I played, it was like I just literally had come back to it over lifetimes of playing these bowls. I knew that I was a guardian of these bowls, and I said to myself, I want three, the Trachona, the sacred triangle. And I thought, that's all I want. Let's fast forward to August. I now have 6. So I wanted 3 in May, and I had 6 by August. These are not cheap.
No.
These are really expensive because my career pays for the abundance to enable me to do all the things that I want in my life.
Yes.
That's why. And I have choice and flexibility because I create choice and flexibility for myself. I'm in charge of what I choose to do. And these are thousands of pounds each. I mean, they're eye candy, but it's not just about eye candy. And it was very interesting how each of my bowls came into my life. They all chose me rather than me choosing them.
How does that feel when they choose you?
Wow. It's the most incredible thing, and sometimes you don't know it at the time, but the lesson reveals itself afterwards. One example, I'll give you 2 examples.
Yeah.
The first bowl, so I'm in a room where there are 100 bowls staring at me. Where do you go? What do you do? What do you even do in that moment? I literally walked in, I took one look around, and I went straight to the first bowl. I picked her up, I said her. Didn't even hear her sing. Yeah. She was a her to me. Yeah. I said her. I chose the most master alchemy in the entire room.
Amazing.
7 alchemies in this bowl. Wow. It's named after Saint Germain. It's a Saint Germain aura, which it's named after the German philosopher Saint Germain. And I picked up this bowl, and she says, and they said to me, this is like the most. It's a part of a divine set. Divine feminine. It's like the most expensive bowl in this kind of like temple right now in this moment. Yeah. And it was there was nothing. I just walked up and picked her up. And then I heard her play and I was like, yeah. She goes, do you want to know what she costs? I said, no, just put it down. I know that she's coming home with me.
Amazing.
Seven alchemies. So the bowls are made of 99.9% quartz. They are alchemized with rare earths, minerals, metals, gemstones. So things like precious stones like smoky quartz, peridot, all the gemstones. Then you've got the metals like platinum, silver, gold, diamond, like we have in our jewelry. Rare earths from like my yagna bowl is the sacred ashes from the fires in India. You've got Sedona rock, you've got Himalayan. So earths from the world. And metals like iron. So they're in alchemized.
They're works of art, aren't they?
Works of art. And one of the other bowls, so I picked that. The second one came very quickly, straight away, and it was just that they were harmonized straight away because I knew I wanted a harmony set. And then the third bowl, because I wanted a harmony set, the bowl chose me because the Brigitte who I was with, I didn't even see this bowl. This small pink bowl right on the top shelf, didn't even see it, had a few bubbles on it. She picked it up and she says, this is the perfect harmony for these 3 bowls. And I was like, it's not as attractive as the others. And she says, it's a sacral chakra. It's a grandmother bowl. So it's the it's rose quartz with iron, hence why the iron gives it the grandmother name by Crystal Tones in the US where they're made.
Why grandmother?
So because that's connected with the iron element and because it has iron in the bowl.
I see.
So you have a grandfather, you have a brother.
Oh, so
father,
like a family.
So it's a family. So this is the grandmother. So it's the wisdom is from your ancient grandmothers, the ancient crones.
Oh yeah.
But mixed with the heart element of the rose quartz. I saw it, and as soon as she said it was a sacral chakra, I said no. Straight away, no, but don't put it up there. Can you just leave it at the side here? I then spent 40 minutes looking around this temple thinking, but my gaze kept going back to this bowl, and I walked up to it and said, she has to come home with me. And the reason why, because I was rejecting my own sensuality, sexuality, and my own femininity through my own sacral. And this bowl presented itself as saying, this is where, right now, the wisdom is that you need to reflect. I'm reflecting back what you need in your life. So she was reflecting back at me that I needed to pay attention to accept and acknowledge my own sensuality, creativity, sexuality, and my divine feminine that I was pushing down for whatever reasons. And that was the message that bowl gave me. And she is the one that picks up sound. You have to nurture her. You have, what do I mean by that? I have to play her around the rim about 4 times before she'll even make a sound. The others go straight away.
Of course, yeah.
The reason why, she's teaching me to nurture myself. I have to be soft with myself.
And patient.
So they're the lessons. The bowls reflect lessons that I need. That's why they choose me to be their guardian.
I love that. And how many do you have now?
I have 9.
Are there any more on the way?
Yes, there's 5 that will come. The reason why is because I would like each of the because the bowls all play a note.
Yes.
A piano keyboard. So there's 7 notes, all aligned to the 7 chakras.
Love that.
So there are 7 notes, and I'm missing 2 or 3 of the notes from the I'm missing 3. I'm missing 3 notes from the piano keyboard from the 7 chakras, and I'm missing 2 endocrine notes. So there are the C, D, E kind of notes, and then there is a sharp note that each aligns with a hormone endocrine point in the body. So I've got 3 sharp notes, but I'm missing 2. The reason why I would like the full set, it will mean that I have 2 extra bowls because I've got 2 Ds and I've got 2 Bs. But the reason why I would like all 12 is because there's a journey for me with the bowls. Because at the moment I'm developing a relationship. So I played the bowls for about 6 months with myself and in my case studies as part of my examination process. Part of my training and examination process, because I am now qualified to give 1-to-1 healing with my practitioner's bowl. Practitioner's bowl is something with a handle.
Yes.
And so I can play that over people. And I have a direction with the bowl. So right now I'm doing one-to-one sound healings, and I'm facilitating sound journeys in groups. So that's kind of where privately and publicly. So that's where I'm kind of holding my events, or I've been invited to festivals or do my workshops.
Can you tell us where you lead regular sound journeys?
So I do them at the Life Centre in Notting Hill once every 2 months, and then I also once a quarter take my bowls to Eastbourne, where I did my first yoga teacher training. I have a little community there, and I do a yoga and sound healing workshop once a quarter there. So, and that really feeds my soul, and I love being able to gift that back to people and community. But I kind of have a goal where I want to go with the bowls, and I really want to work eventually with trauma and palliative care and cancer. So I want to work with mainstream medicine with the bowls, hence why I want all of the notes, so that I can really create music and create healing through the harmonics and applying music theory with the way that I play the bowls to really transmit healing energy that can complement those that are going through traumatic medical life.
Yeah.
So for example, Reiki, massage are complements to mainstream chemotherapy, radiotherapy, to help
ease the side effects.
That doesn't, not replacing, we're complementing.
Of course.
But what isn't so well known is sound vibration, because there is science. It's not just woo-woo. It's not just whole
it goes
spiritual
into the
side.
cells.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a whole sound science behind, and the physics behind it. So so that I want to be able to give. That's kind of where I feel that's why my journey started with this. I did another training in Brussels with the Crystal Bowls Europe with Brian and Shannon, amazing, incredible sound healers, therapists. And Brian is a Lama, a Buddhist Lama, meditation teacher, but also is a musician, so has the music background. Shannon is a yoga teacher, and together they create a real transformational alchemy. And I learned how to play the bowls with music theory. I have nothing musical in myself, but playing the bowls enables me to really reflect my creativity, because being a lawyer and being in my logic brain, I have to dig deep for creativity there. Whereas my yoga life, my bowls life, my spiritual life enables me to be really creative. So I'm able to kind of bring that in. So I do now play with music theory. So I'll play a major chord with the bowls in the notes, so that I can bring real harmony. Then if somebody's working with a bit of melancholy or something, I will play a minor chord to bring that to the surface, and I'll clear it with harmony again. And then the way that I play the bowls, and I'll position them in a way that I can then give that different experience. And then in my one-to-ones, I'll play dissonance, so I'll play opposite notes to help really bring trauma up, if that is what my client wants. So I'm really learning and diving deeper. I'm going back to do another level with Brussels in February. I'm so excited. We're going to go so deep.
How many levels are there?
Well, they're going to do 3, because the third one they're going to do on retreat.
Right.
So a week together. So do you know, it's an ongoing education. There's no such thing as levels. I'm learning. And the best way to learn, really for me, is with my bowls. And I do I chime them every day. I get some out as and when I feel. And they really are part of my life. It's changed the vibration of how I am, but it's also changed the vibration in my home.
Yes. Well, you can feel it.
Thank you.
And when I've been into the room where the bowls live, you can, it's a different you can feel it.
It's an energy.
Of course.
You know, the experiment we did is where you were just going to stand near one, and because of the acoustics in that room, when you're speaking, they start singing in the background.
Magic.
Without you touching them. I mean, that's just magical. Because why? The science. Because your voice is projecting the sound vibration, and that sound is then, they're a vessel of energy, and it's just vibrating that right back at you.
Totally.
So the bowls are teaching me such incredible life lessons. They are helping me to express my gifts. They're helping me to discover the healing parts of my life to help heal me first. Then, and only from that place, can I help you.
Absolutely.
I cannot help you unless I know how they help me, unless I develop that relationship with them. It is a relationship like two people, and it's amazing how they respond and react to me, because sometimes they screech because they pick up my energy. And they pick up, I'm not feeling so great, I'm stressed, I'm distracted. They screech at me in the way, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? And there's times where they just sing and sing and sing, and it expresses where I am in that moment.
Amazing. I mean, I think you might have already told us, but if I always like to ask people, if they have a sort of a self-care practice that's not an obvious thing, so maybe it's not even that related to yoga, or even maybe the bowls is your thing, or do you have something that you do that just makes you feel good that you wish other people knew about, like dancing? I don't know, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be
like music, for example. It's really funny because I've got a bit of an obsessive personality. And if a song massively. And if a song comes to me, this week there is a song that I'm listening to. It's a garbo. What's a garbo?
Yes.
A garbo is a folk song from Gujarat, and because we've just had Navratri, which is the Hindu festival of venerating Shakti over 9 nights. Shakti is the divine feminine, Mother Earth. Over 9 nights, because we celebrate her over 9 nights, because that's the journey that she has to slay Mahishasura, who's the demon that none of the other gods can slay. So they call on Mother Earth to slay this demon, and she spends 9 nights slaying this demon. And actually, it's the energy of what needs to be slayed in your life, your own demons. That's the energy. So when you take all the let's take the shiny wrapper off and go to the sweet inside. That's what that is.
Okay.
And so I've been like, literally this year has been back to community, wearing all the colours of the rainbow, dancing 9 nights straight, venerating this festival. And there's this one folk song that is my song of this year. I'm not kidding. I am literally dancing on the tube. I am dancing on the platforms. I'm dancing on the streets walking home from the tube station. I'm literally moving, and I'm literally moving, and I don't care who's watching me, because I'm vibing in my own unique frequency. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or says. People smile at me thinking, you know what? I wish I had something that enables me to do that.
Of course, especially in London when people are so miserable.
So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Music is one thing. The bowls are huge. That one ritual. It's just having a ritual. Whether that's just closing your eyes for 2 minutes, whether that's just sitting. What mindful thing enables you to connect to yourself, for example. So, and you've got to try different things to be able to come up and for you to realize what your one thing is. I do have several things, and I will pick what those things are for what I need at that time. So, for example, today I can't wait to get in a hot essential oil salt bath. That for me today is going to be like the best. So that's that one thing for my self-care.
And chips.
Let's not forget chips, because I'm a potato queen. I could eat them morning, noon and night. So that for me is self-care. Getting into bed. Like, I got into bed on a Saturday night at 7:30. Yes, I was with my iPad, but you know, watching something, because I wanted to be supine, lying
Yeah,
down. I didn't want to
yeah.
sit on my sofa.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because my cleaner will sometimes come to my home and she's like, have you even actually turned on the gas cooker today? There's still Hoover lines in this part of your room. Have you ever been in this part of your room? You know, and so, you know, I ask myself, what do you feel? What do you want? You know?
I think that's great advice, because I think sometimes we'll have our sort of self-care practices or our to-dos, and when we don't do them, we can end up beating ourselves up a bit. Whereas if you're keeping it open to what do I need today, I think that is just so important for the overall feeling of well-being, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's not one size fits all.
No.
Today, having that hot bath is my thing. Tomorrow, I'm meeting a friend for a walk. That's my thing. It's a one-on-one connection. And I'm actually going to receive, because we forget to receive. When we givers and we facilitate, we forget that we need nurturing.
Of course.
And we need to refill our cup.
Yeah.
So when I have my festivals, it's my spiritual battery goes in the socket, and I'm charging myself up, and I go in a bubble. So I kind of don't exclude, but I know I need space and time to fill my cup up. So I will use those times to fill myself up. So I'm going to a yin and sound journey this Sunday. Why? Because I want to fill myself up and receive.
Yeah.
And be totally on the receiving point of that.
Totally.
That helps me fill up. Then that gives me enough to give.
Yeah.
I want to give from my overflowing saucer, never my cup.
Oh, I love that. That's actually a really great thing to leave everyone with. Fill from the saucer, not from the cup.
Yeah.
That is amazing, Sonal. Thank you so much. This has been a really, really amazing conversation. You are just full of knowledge and surprises.
Thank you for having me. It's been, I've loved just being able to share. And
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And just one more time, tell us where we can join one of your when can we next join your incredible sound journey?
Amazing. So the next one is on the 19th of January at the Life Centre in Notting Hill, 7:30 to 9. It's the first one in January, so spaces are going, so please do, if you want to come, book early. Then I've got another one in March, and I'm also in Eastbourne for a weekend, the first weekend in January as well. So I'm doing two, one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday, if you fancy a trip to the seaside.
Beautiful.
But yeah, just I'll always have them posted on my socials, and you can check them out on my on the events page on my website.
And what's your website? I will link all this, but just tell us.
Okay, so it's just my name, so it's www.sonalthakrar.com.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Sonal.
Thank you, Al.